Although 1923 has finished its second season, do not mistake that for a finale. In fact, the conclusion felt more like a prelude than a conclusion. The story is still going on and not over. The journeys of many of the show's most compelling characters are just beginning. And one burning question that fans cannot stop asking is, will there be a third season for this unraveling frontier drama? The commotion is deafening. In forums, comment sections, and fan pages, theories abound. And, as far as we are aware, the response is a resounding yes. Why? Because there are too many unanswered questions, emotional cliffhangers, and characters whose fates are up in the air. Elizabeth, a character that has polarized the fanbase like few others, is the most prominent of these. She demands attention regardless of how you feel about her. You either root for her or roll your eyes. She refuses to disappear into the background quietly. She is portrayed as impulsive and even selfish by some viewers. Others, like me, see her in a different light, raw, vulnerable, and unfiltered. She is human in a heartbreaking way. She is one of the few characters who doesn't hesitate to put on pain armor. And while we can debate her decisions all day long, one thing is certain: her fate is far from sealed. What exactly transpired with Elizabeth? And why does it appear as though her narrative holds the key to the next chapter? Sincerely, we ought to be excited by rumors that a spin-off series might focus on Elizabeth. Yes, I am aware that the concept does not excite everyone. Her attitude, her controversial choices, and her tenuous connection to the legacy of the Dutton family have all provoked opposing responses. But here's the truth: she might depend on the next chapter of 1923 or even the Yellowstone universe as a whole. And if you examine the conclusion of Season 2 more closely, you might begin to comprehend why. The story of Elizabeth is far from over. It's only just getting started, if anything. In point of fact, her arc has the potential to become one of the franchise's most emotionally potent yet underdeveloped storylines. Let's dissect it. We were left with haunting uncertainty rather than closure in Season 2's concluding moments. In that devastating scene at the end, we see Elizabeth walk away from the Dutton ranch, and everything she thought her life would be like: grieving, pregnant, and completely alone. Her world had fallen apart. She lost the man she loved, Jack, without warning. She is also left to vanish into the unknown without being acknowledged, comforted, or even surrounded by her family. She isn't followed at all. Nobody approaches. She is suddenly invisible to the very people who ought to have stood by her, despite the fact that she is carrying a child who has a blood connection to the Dutton legacy. And that muteness? It conveys a lot. It forces us to inquire: did she miscarry the child? Is that the reason why the Duttons turned away? Because if there is one thing we are aware of about this family, it is that they safeguard their own interests, particularly when the bloodline's future is in jeopardy. Nevertheless, Elizabeth was left without anything. Perhaps that scene marked the beginning of something more profound, even if it wasn't the end. Something substantial. It's possible that the woman they might have underestimated in Season 3 will get more attention than the Duttons we already know about. Now comes the particularly interesting part. An interview that Michelle Randolph, the actress who plays Elizabeth, recently gave flipped everything upside down. In the final scene, she claims that Elizabeth is still pregnant. Everything is altered by that one small detail. It shifts the focus of Elizabeth's story from tragedy to perseverance, from defeat to perseverance. Suddenly, her story is about survival more than just heartbreak. It is about a young woman who is still holding on to the hope of a new life while trying to find her feet in the midst of unimaginable grief. She might also discover a route that no one expected her to take. Michelle even admitted that she has been imagining her own journey, following Elizabeth's. She stated, "Elizabeth leaves with a pregnancy. We assume she will return to Boston. We really don't know where she is going." That ambiguity? It is more than just a tangled string. It is a seed that the authors most likely planted on purpose, waiting for the right time of year to sprout. And who is to say that Elizabeth does not improve upon her return? Are you more focused? What if she fights to claim her place in the Dutton legacy and refuses to be erased from it? Just think of the possibilities. A spin-off that follows her life after Montana, a story about identity, inheritance, healing, and the perseverance required to rise from ashes. Therefore, reconsider if you dismissed her too quickly, believing that her story had nowhere else to go. It's possible that the authors are laying the groundwork for something more profound, personal, and, dare I say, transformative. And if a spin-off based on her child, her grief, and her struggle to leave a legacy could be made, it could be one of the most powerful stories ever told in the Yellowstone universe. And let's be honest, when even the actors have questions, it usually means that Taylor Sheridan is still working on them. After spending years following Yellowstone, I know that. The point at which a character's story feels unfinished? At that point, you ought to pay closer attention. Because there will be something. And honestly, I'm hoping it is. Because I am hesitant to part ways with Elizabeth. No, not yet. And while we're on the subject of saying our goodbyes, may we discuss Jack's passing? That moment was like a chest punch. So abruptly. So cruel. So, not complete. We were not even given a chance to properly grieve him. There was only a heartbreaking breakup, not a gradual fade or preparation. Additionally, that requires increased focus. Extra time. Michelle Randolph even stated that when she realized what was taking place, she had to reread the script. That's how quickly everything happened. They were fighting for each other and clinging to a fleeting hope at the same time, but then it was over. This kind of loss persists. It deserves to be explored in quiet, heart-rending scenes, like when Elizabeth sits alone and thinks about Jack and mourns, not only the man, but also the life they never got to live. Imagine witnessing her grief unfold in silence, punctuated by recollections of snatched kisses, whispered promises, and sun-drenched days that once seemed to last forever. Those recollections matter. That pain is important. How did Elizabeth get through it? It requires time. It requires space. It requires more than we've seen. Therefore, no, Elizabeth would not just benefit from more screen time. It would be required. Her story is deserving of the weight and depth that can only be provided by careful, thoughtful storytelling. And personally, I can't wait to see where it takes me. Those memories etched in loss, hope, and legacy could serve as a quiet yet powerful heartbeat pulsing through the soul of a new series. They wouldn't just act as nostalgic callbacks, they would anchor us. They would keep us grounded in what has been lost while simultaneously illuminating the road ahead, guiding us toward what is still possible, still waiting to be discovered, still aching to be told. That way forward toward what's still possible hinges on one profound truth. Elizabeth is not simply carrying a child. No, she is carrying legacy. She is carrying Jack's memory, his bloodline, and the future they once dreamed of building together. Jack's life did not end with his death, and it certainly didn't end with the heartbreak we witnessed in 1923. His spirit endures quietly, steadily within Elizabeth and the unborn child who represents their love's final, most enduring creation. This story is not over. In fact, it may be just beginning. So when people say that 1923 is finished, I can't help but pause. Because to many of us fans, viewers, people who were emotionally invested in this chapter of the Dutton legacy, that statement simply doesn't feel true. More and more fans are echoing the same belief that this isn't just about another season. If the story continues, it won't be season 3. It'll be something else entirely. Something more intimate. Something that belongs to Elizabeth. Yes, the rumor, that delicious, persistent whisper in the fanbase, is gaining serious traction. A spin-off centered on Elizabeth, beginning right where we last saw her, possibly in Boston, far from the Montana land that still holds Jack's memory, but never far from his influence. Her story, which has yet to reach its climax, feels like fertile ground for a brand new chapter. A spin-off that isn't just a continuation, it's a reawakening. And honestly, it makes perfect sense. Michelle Randolph, who portrays Elizabeth with such depth and vulnerability, has openly spoken about how the ending of 1923 left her feeling unsatisfied. I don't feel like I have a full sense of closure as well, she said in a recent interview. And when the actor doesn't feel closure, you can bet the audience doesn't either. Her words don't come across as a throwaway remark, they feel like a gentle confirmation. A quiet signal that something more is coming. To be perfectly candid, I'm relieved she said something. Because as we've come to expect, Paramount tends to play their cards close to the vest. They don't confirm anything until fan speculation reaches a fever pitch. We've seen it before. We're seeing it again now. But let's set aside the rumors for a moment and talk about something even more significant, what Elizabeth's baby represents. This child isn't just a baby born out of tragedy. This child could very well be the living bridge between eras of the Dutton family. The thread that connects the past of 1923 to the present we've come to know in Yellowstone. Let's put the pieces together. We know that John Dutton, the one portrayed by Kevin Costner in Yellowstone, is from the 5th generation of the family. And if Spencer Dutton isn't his grandfather, then someone else must be. The Dutton bloodline has a gap, a mystery, a question mark, and all signs begin to point toward Elizabeth's child as the missing piece. This child could be the one who brings the Dutton name back to Montana, who reclaims the ranch, who builds something new from the ashes of everything that's been lost. A spin-off centered around Elizabeth wouldn't just deepen the story. It could actually solve one of the biggest unanswered questions in the entire Yellowstone universe. And that's why, honestly, we need this show not next year. Not someday. Now? That's how I feel, at least. But what about you? Do you believe Elizabeth deserves her own series? Do you believe her child could be the linchpin, the keystone, of the Dutton family legacy? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Because even though Paramount Plus hasn't made any official announcements, I think many of us can sense it, we know there's more to come. Yes, Taylor Sheridan is undoubtedly juggling a monumental amount of content. He's wrapping up the final chapter of Yellowstone, developing 6,666, preparing the Matthew McConaughey spin-off, and charting out 1,944. But even in the midst of all that, Elizabeth's story stands apart. It feels urgent. It feels emotionally unfinished. And most importantly, it hasn't been picked up by any of the other series. None of the currently known spin-offs take place during Elizabeth's time. None of them offer the emotional resolution 1923 left suspended in midair. That's why this proposed Elizabeth series would be so much more than a third season. It would be a connective thread tying together 1923 and 1,944, while also deepening the mythology of the Dutton family tree. Let's not forget, Taylor Sheridan has a sixth sense for casting. He sees potential in his actors, and when he sees it, he builds around it. That's exactly what he did by casting Michelle Randolph again for Lawman, Bass Reeves. That kind of trust, that kind of investment in an actor, it matters. We've seen it time and time again in the Sheridan-verse. When an actor resonates with fans and proves they can carry emotional weight, they often end up leading their own show. So if history is any indication, Elizabeth's journey isn't finished. It's just waiting to be explored. I want to hear from you, seriously. Do you believe in the possibility of an Elizabeth-led spin-off? Do you think her child could be the key to the future of the Dutton dynasty? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I've read some of the most insightful, thoughtful theories in this community, and I'm always eager to hear more. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, follow, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a deep dive, a theory discussion, or any breaking updates from the Yellowstone universe and beyond. Thank you truly for being a part of this community, for watching, for engaging, and for keeping this conversation alive. We're only just getting started. And with your passion, this story stays alive. And hey, if you're still in the mood for more legacy talk, drama, and Dutton deep dives, the video currently on your screen might be exactly what you're looking for. Go check it out.